How are you guys doing? And I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today, I'll be talking to you guys about modern day slavery. I know you're thinking, this is 2020. Slavery was abolished. Why are we still talking about modern day slavery? Well, I'll be telling you guys about how the state of Louisiana is using an old trick in the playbook to still enslave people in 2020. If this is your first time watching Extreme Foolishness TV, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, please take time now to subscribe and hit the bell next to the subscribe button. So next time I upload videos, you'll be the first person in the loop. Well, today I'll be talking to you guys about a man by the name of Wayne Bryant. Wayne Bryant was sentenced to life in prison by the state of Louisiana for attempted burglary into a dwelling to steal hedge clippers. I did it not stutter. Mr. Bryant was convicted and he's serving life in prison for attempted burglary into a dwelling trying to steal hedge clippers. I know you're thinking, why would somebody be convicted for trying to steal hedge clippers and sentenced to life in prison? Well, it's called the Habitual Offender Bill in the state of Louisiana. According to the Habitual Offender Bill, if you have prior convictions, the state of Louisiana can file a habitual offender bill and you can be sentenced to a lengthy prison term or life in prison, as it is the case here for Mr. Bryant. Mr. Bryant's prior convictions were possession of stolen things, attempted forgery for writing a bad check, and simple burglary of an inhabited dwelling. Again, think about it. The only violent crime that he's been convicted for in the past was a simple burglary. He's had attempted bad check, possession of stolen things, and now, since he's been convicted for attempted burglary, the DA just filed an habitual offender bill, and voila, he's serving life in prison. He attempted to appeal he did appeal his sentence to the Louisiana Supreme Court. 5 white justices denied his appeal. He said his sentence was too excessive, was too severe. 5 white justices denied his appeal and did not even give a written opinion. Only 1 black female justice, the Chief Justice, granted his appeal, but she was not enough. Her vote was not enough to overturn his conviction. And she wrote an opinion where she disagreed with her colleagues on the bench. Now let's go down memory lane. After the Civil War, there was a Reconstruction period in the United States. During that time, a lot of southern states were trying to assimilate it back into the Union, and during that period, slaves did not know what to do. A lot of southern states had black codes. A lot of those black codes prevented slaves from voting, from serving on juries, and all the stuff. So during that Reconstruction period, you had the 13th Amendment was passed, I think in 1865 or so, ballpark. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery. Then after that, you had the 14th Amendment was passed sometime, 1868 or so. The 14th Amendment pretty much guaranteed birthright citizenship to slaves. Because at that time, a lot of slaves were not citizens. So a lot of them could not sue in court. There's another case, Dred Scott case. I'll be talking about that in another video, so you need to subscribe. But anyway, they were not citizens. So the 14th Amendment pretty much said that you could not take away their liberties, property, or life without due process of law, and that states should give equal protection of its laws to its citizens, including slaves. and that the privileges and immunities of slaves could not be abridged. So there were a lot of protections for slaves, but a lot of southern states tried to get around that. So a lot of southern states had, some of them had vagrancy laws. For example, you could go to jail for being homeless. You could go to jail for not having a job. They had contract laws saying that you could not leave someone or your master unless you had worked up an advance on you. They had pig laws. You could go to jail for stealing a swine. They had all these laws. They had harsh prison sentences for slaves. Some misdemeanors were treated as felonies. A lot of lengthy prison times. So those were the ways a lot of southern states, including the state of Louisiana at the time. The state of Louisiana was one of the states that had vagrancy laws on the books, used to enslave freed slaves, because at the time, the 13th Amendment had abolished slavery. So, if you're in prison, they could give you a lengthy prison time. You will work for free. So those were the ways that they did it. And the Louisiana State Penitentiary, also known as Angola, was built on a former slave plantation. So just think about it. You have these habitual offender bills that are used on the books in 2020 to pretty much give people life in prison for if they have some other convictions in the past. And 80% of the people who are sentenced under this habitual offender bill happen to be blacks. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. And if you're locked up, you're gonna work slave wages. There's no telling how much they're being paid, 10 cents per hour or whatever it is. So you can see how a lot of this habitual offender laws are used, like the laws that were used right after the Reconstruction period, the pig laws, the vagrancy laws, the contract laws. These laws are just relics of the past. And Mr. Bryant has served about 20-something years in prison. It's cost the state of Louisiana about $500,000 to incarcerate him. If he spends another 20 years in prison, it's going to be another $500,000 or so that will be used to incarcerate Mr. Bryant. I think this punishment is severe in relation to the crime. And this is just the ways that a lot of southern states, and especially the state of Louisiana, were used to still keep people enslaved even after slavery was abolished. So I think this is modern day slavery. People should be outraged. I think this law should be repealed. If you know anyone in Louisiana, they need to contact their legislators to find a way to repeal this law. I don't think it's fair, especially it has a disparate impact on minorities, especially blacks, given that 80% of the people sentenced under this habitual offender bill are blacks. So I don't think it's fair at all. And especially given that there are other situations where you're happy with other races with multiple felony convictions and they're still walking the street. There's another video I did, I'll put the link in the description, about a guy who had multiple felonies and still was free to murder people. So you can see why the application of this law is not really fair. And some of those DAs may choose to exercise your discretion not to bring a habitual offender bill to extend the time somebody will serve if that person is a person of another race. So these laws need to be repealed. This appears to be similar, reminiscent of the pig laws, the vagrancy laws, and the contract laws that were in the books subsequent to the Reconstruction era in order to circumvent the 13th Amendment. So I think this is modern day slavery. State of Louisiana, please, you can do better than this. Again, I'm going to be making more videos, updates on Mr. Bryant. It appears He's been given a second go round to go back to the Supreme Court of Louisiana. Hopefully this time his conviction will be set aside for being too harsh, too excessive. Anyway, please like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. Also, I'd like you guys to let me know in your comments. Do you think this habitual offender bill is one of those laws that were passed after the Reconstruction era to still keep folks enslaved? Or do you think it's just a fair law? Do you think it's unfair? Do you think it unfairly targets black people? Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, this is extreme foolishness, this habitual offender law. It needs to be repealed. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Akins Doherty here, Mr. Make Him Pay. Remember, say no to extreme foolishness.